Hey there, YouTube and Wooper Club fans. It's Fruit Taco, coach of the Route 1 Burbs, bringing you another feature match from Wooper Club League Season 14. This week we have the Calgary Corviknight going up against the Summit County Psyducks. This is week 6, so as we start heading into the end of the 8-week regular season, teams are looking to secure themselves a playoff spot. Who will come away with the win and be that much closer to the playoffs? Let's find out. The Calgary Corviknight have Ogrepon Hearthflame, Hisuian Lilligant, Sandy Shocks, Galarian Articuno, Moltres, Duraludon, Slitherwing, Klefki, Brute Bonnet, Toxapex, and Torkoal, going up against the Summit County Psyducks with Chien-Pao, Whimsicott, Garchomp, Entei, Zapdos, Jirachi, Okidogi, Blastoise, Orthworm, Farigiraf, and Azumarill. The Psyducks have the fastest 2 Mons and Prankster Tailwind on their side, with Chien-Pao being immune to Klefki's Prankster Thunder Waves, as well as more base 100 pluses, definitely giving them the edge in the speed tiers here. Chlorophyll and Photosynthesis boosts, as well as Trick Room options, which we saw the Corviknight run in last week's feature match, do give them plenty of options to combat though, but the Psyducks definitely have at least the initial edge. Looking at the Corviknight's matchup, Psyducks have great defensive synergy, but are slightly more susceptible to Electric, Ground, and Fire, with Ghost and Normal not having many weaknesses, but also not many resists. I could see Ogrepon actually being quite good with Play Rough and Stomping Tantrum coverage. Sandy Shocks could also be good with Electric only being resisted by Garchomp and the frail Whimsicott. I expect Slitherwing to also come to pressure Chien-Pao with First Impressions, and I don't see anything that stands out as incredible in this matchup, so I think they could go a couple of different directions, but I definitely think all of those offensive pieces could be quite good in this matchup if they decide to go with them. Looking at the Psyducks, well, the Corviknight have resists, but are overall weak to Fire, Flying, and Ice, with Normal and Ghost having cute resists. Garchomp looks pretty good, with Ground being super effective into many of the Corviknight's bulky mons. Entei also can act as a fire resist while abusing the opposing sun if it comes. We could potentially see counter weather with something like Manual Rain on something like Blastoise, Zapdos or Jirachi for Hurricanes, and boosted water moves from something like Azumarill. So a couple ways they could go with that, but I'm not sure if they'll want to try to win a manual weather war up against the Torkoal's automatic sun. Overall, I don't see either team having a particularly favorable matchup. I think I'd give a slight edge to the Corviknight for offering immediate setup for their Photosynthesis attackers, while I think the Psyducks will need a little bit of support to really set up their offense, although they do have plenty of hard hitters. So, what did the coaches think of the matchup? Well, the Corviknight are going to be bringing these 6 Mons, starting off with Sandy Shocks. We've got max special attack and speed Timid Nature with an Assault Vest. Terra Ice, but no Terra Blast is probably just a bluff to dissuade the Garchomp switching in. Photosynthesis will boost special attack in the sun, and then we've got the Terra Electric boosted Thunderbolt and Electro Web for a little bit of speed control, Earth Power Stab, and then that Flash Cannon coverage. This is a pretty cool set. It's got coverage to hit 7 of 11 Pokemon super effectively, and the Terra buffs cover another 2 Mons. Electro Web and the Assault Vest have me a little confused though. Electro Web for speed control is fine, but I don't know if they need it. The rest of the team is slow enough that they're still outsped by stuff like Max Speed Jirachi or Entei even at -1, to say nothing of Chien-Pao or Whimsicott and the possibility of Tailwind. Terra Blast or Power Gem might have been my picks for that move slot if you want to keep the Assault Vest, which, speaking of, it helps you take attacks from Whimsicott, Blastoise, I guess, but is that really worth the item slot when you're most worried about the physical attackers, and you could be running something like Expert Belt and Protect in that last move slot I was talking about? All said though, this is still a good set, just wondering if that Assault Vest will actually see much use. Next up, we have Duraludon, max HP and special defense with Eviolite, making this a big wall. Terra Fairy, most likely to resist fighting type attacks. Draco Meteor Stab with Iron Defense Body Press combo and Rest to top off the set. This is definitely an annoying bulky Mon. I really love this set. A lot of the scary Mons on the other side are physical attackers, and you resist most of the special attackers naturally, so this bulky Iron Defense set with Rest could actually work really, really well. The only thing I have to say is Draco Meteor might be unnecessary. You're going to want to set up and stay in, so maybe go with something that doesn't drop your special attack, like Dragon Pulse or Flash Cannon. although Draco does Oko Garchomp, which is probably specifically what that move is there for, so I'm not too upset about it. Next, we have Slitherwing, max HP and physical defense, but Photosynthesis will still boost attack. Terra Electric will resist flying-type attacks coming at it. Bulk Up will further boost the defense while increasing the damage of Leech Life, High Horsepower, and Close Combat. Protective Pads are then going to protect from Garchomp's Rough Skin and any Rocky Helmet on the other side. This is a pretty interesting set. When I first looked at it, I didn't really like it, but I think I'm starting to come around on it. We again see focusing on physical defense, like the Duraludon having that iron defense, but it doesn't have any of the natural resists or any special investment, which is what initially concerned me. You actually have pretty decent natural special bulk, though, and the recovery from a boosted Leech Life, well, that could be pretty good. The bug resists are Entei and Okidogi, who get hit by Horsepower, Orthworm, who gets hit by Close Combat, and then you've got Zapdos and Azumarill, who are going to resist both of your stabs. If you Terra, you then resist both of Zapdos' stabs, and Azumarill then can't hit your boosted defense super effectively. This still doesn't feel as consistent as a more traditional Slitherwing set, especially if you don't have that first impression to pressure the faster mons, but I do see what the plan here is, and with 2 bulk ups, it could start being really, really annoying to remove for the other side. We then have Brute Bonnet, max HP and physical defense again with a Rocky Helmet to punish physical attackers. Photosynthesis will further boost that defense stat. Terra Poison resists bug, fighting, and fairy moves. Then for the moveset, we have Rage Powder and Pollen Puff to support its teammates, especially that Duraludon and Slitherwing while they set up. Sucker Punch is the only attacking move with decent damage and priority. Synthesis and Sun gives us a ton of sustain and starts to reveal that this is actually a stall team. In terms of this being a support piece for stall, I definitely see it. In fact, I might have even leaned further into it with Spore over Sucker Punch or Synthesis. Synthesis and Sun combined with the Rocky Helmet is a cool theory, but if you're weak to a lot of other Pokemon on the other side, like Brute Bonnet, you probably want to save your Terra for like Duraludon or Slither, so I don't know, maybe getting a Sleep Off would be more useful, because you are probably going to be taking some pretty big hits. Paired with the next mon, though, all that healing could be absolutely disgusting. And that Pokemon is Toxapex. Max HP with mixed defense investment, leaning physical, with then Black Sludge for longevity. Terra Flying will be immune to ground-type attacks from Garchomp, although Grass to also resist Electric from Zapdos and still resist Water might have been my call. Muddy Water provides spread damage with the chance of accuracy drops. Toxic, Baneful Bunker, and Recover bring that classic Toxapex stall. Here, we really see what this team is built for. Sure, Sandy Shocks offers solid offense, and Slither and Duraludon can be strong offensively if they set up, but more than that, if they set up, they'll take a long time to KO, especially next to that supporting Brute Bonnet. With only 2 toxic immunities on the other side, Orthworm and Okidogi, 3, Jirachi too, Toxic Stall is definitely a big part of this team's plan. Toxic Spikes would have been a viable choice, but needing to poison that Zapdos, avoiding heavy-duty boots users, and of course they could get absorbed by Okidogi, relying on manual Toxic is probably the right call. Only thing I have to say is lefties would probably pair better with that Terra, just because if you do end up Terraing, the Black Sludge is going to start hurting you, while lefties would still heal you. And then last up, we have Torkoal. Max HP and special attack this time, not going for more defenses on this one. Heat Rock is going to extend that Drought Sun, and Terra Water will take away the weaknesses to Water, Ground, and Rocks. Stealth Rocks will chip down the opposing team and break sashes, while Rapid Spin could clear rocks on your own side. Heat Wave and Earth Power offer neutral damage on everything, and there's nothing wrong with this set, but seeing how interesting the rest of the team is, I wish they had tried out some other stuff with this Torkoal. Helping Hand, Clear Smog, Fire Spin, I think would all be really too cool on this set. Maybe even over like Rapid Spin to then help out the stall plan, as would classics like Protect or Will-O-Wisp. In fact, Baneful Bunker is the only Protect move on this stall team, which is surprising. Not really concerned with this set though, should be fine. And overall, as much as I don't want to applaud stall, it's really cool to see the Corviknight pivot from their usual Sun offense to a stall team like this. They definitely need to play it well at the start though, getting off key toxics and boosts on those bulky mons. And of course, an untimely crit could easily sink the plan, but I'm really interested to see how this works out. And here is what their opponent, the Summit County Psyducks, will be bringing. We're going to start things off with Garchomp. We've got max attack and speed Jolly Nature, which is going to outspeed max speed Sandy Shocks. Life Orb is going to give this thing a bit more damage output. We've got Terra Fire to resist Ice, as well as several other of the Corviknight's best offensive types. Stomping Tantrum and Dragon Claw Stab with Rock Slide for coverage. There's not much to say here. It's a good standard set. This set hits 8 Pokemon super effectively on the other side. However, none of its moves are particularly strong, base power-wise, so will probably be scarier late game when damage has already been spread around. I think because of that, you could go with Swords Dance, probably over that Rock Slide, to really threaten even bulky mons, but you have a good speed tier to make use of that flinch chance, and Rock is good into the Corviknight, so I think it's fine as is. Moving on to Whimsicott, max HP and Timid Nature with enough speed to outspeed the entire opposing team with the leftover EVs in special attack. Covert Cloak will protect it from secondary effects, but I'm not sure what in particular they're worried about. Terra Water resists any fire or steel type attacks coming at it. Moonblast will be the offensive move of choice with Prankster Taunt and Tailwind and then protect in the last slot. This is another solid set. Tailwind will let the team outspeed Photosynthesis speed boosts, Taunt can shut down several opposing mons, and Moonblast is nice to just output some damage. Charm could have been a fun tech, but I think the move choice is solid. The Covert Cloak is the thing I'm not sold on, though. I don't believe the Corviknight have any fake-out users, so what's the secondary effects you're trying to avoid? Paras from switching into Thunderbolts? Burns from fire moves? I don't know. I just don't see the value in that over something like a Resist Berry, but to be fair, any other items I can think of are pretty situational as well. Next is Chien-Pao, max attack, adamant nature with enough speed to outspeed the entire other team. Terra Ghost will resist bug and fighting attacks with a focus sash to guaranteed live one hit. Protect can dodge first impression as well. Then we have Ice Spinner and Crunch as normal stab options, with Sucker Punch as the choice for priority. The last move slot is the only thing I'm not really sold on here about this set. Priority options here are kind of awkward to pick in that you can run Ice Shard, which is super effective against stuff like Lilligant, or Trick Room Brute Bonnet, Sandy Shocks, or you can run Sucker Punch, which is stronger into things like a boosted Ogerpon or Trick Room Torkoal. It's a hard choice to make. Do you go with the ice move or the fighting move, because they're kind of strong against things and resistant against the other things? Well, Chien-Pao is definitely feeling that 4-move slot syndrome here. Psychic Fangs to break Klefki screens and hit Toxapex, Aerial Lace to hit Slitherwing. I don't know, there's just a ton of useful moves that you could run here. You can only bring 4 of them. I don't have a problem with any of the moves on this set, but I think there's a good possibility that in the match, the coach is going to end up regretting not bringing a different utility option. But you could say that about pretty much anything they pick. Then we've got Entei, max attack Jolly with enough speed to outspeed Galarian Articuno. Choice Band is going to add even more power to its attacks, with Terra Normal extreme speed and then Sacred Fire as the stab option. Stomping Tantrum and Stone Edge are the coverage moves of choice. I like this set a lot. In Sun, Banded Sacred Fire is going to be doing big damage to everything except the 3 fire resists, which you have coverage for. Terra Normal Extreme Speed is also great to do big damage to things like Sandy Shocks and Chlorophyll Lilligant. Choice Band is always risky, though. With bulky mons like Toxapex and Moltres on the other side, you could find yourself needing to make some hard reads, but if you get them right, you're going to be massively rewarded here. Blastoise is up next, max HP and some defense investment, but mostly special defense with a Citrus Berry for more bulk. This is a support set, so the Terra Dark is probably to be immune to something like Klefki's Prankster Taunt. Muddy Water is the only offensive move with decent spread damage and a chance to drop accuracy. Fake Out and then Rain Dance for disruption, Rain Dance pairing with that Rain Dish ability, and then Protect as the last move. I really like bringing this Rain set to disrupt all of the Sun-based tech on the other side. Only things I have to say are that I think the Terra is a little niche, and I might have tried to fit Helping Hand or Life Dew over Protect for a little more partner support, but that's just me, and I think this is a great bring. And last up is Zapdos. Max HP with a decent amount of special attack investment, some speed with a timid nature, and a little investment in each defense as well. Terra Steel will resist ice and rock moves, and then Rocky Helmet will chip any physical attackers. Thunderbolt and Hurricane Stab with Roost and Tailwind as a backup setter if the Whimsicott is no longer around. I think Zapdos looks great in this match, but this set does confuse me. It hits 275 speed, which outspeeds max speed Klefki? That doesn't seem particularly important to outspeed, though, since it has Prankster and probably won't have much speed anyway. The special attack investment lets it roll to 2-shot specially defensive Pex through lefties and potentially 1-shot max HP Ogerpon with a Hurricane. I think investing a little more in special attack or defense would be my call. Hurricane always hits in rain, but is only 50% accurate in sun, so I think it would be nice to see Air Slash on here too, but I guess they really wanted that Tailwind, and if they can keep the sun gone, this set could be quite good as a defensive and offensive piece. Overall, I think this team is really well constructed, but it's going to have to be played quite well. Not only is there the Weather War to try to win, a lot of your offense isn't particularly powerful, with things like Garchomp and Xianpao having great stats, but low base power moves which could struggle to get KOs through something like Screams or neutral targets. I definitely see the potential of this team, though, with things like Zapdos and Rain and Banded Entei and Sun. It'll just come down to see if they can stay ahead of the Corviknight and really make use of all of their different attributes here. So will the Psyducks be able to stay ahead of the Corviknight? Well, let's see. For the Corviknight, no poison immunities on the other side means that Toxapex looks really good with its stall strategy here. Duraludon could also be really good if it gets an Iron Defense or two, although it could need a little bit of help dealing with that Zapdos. For the Psyducks, no Klefki means no screens and no Trick Room, and no Lilligant means no After You Eruptions, which these are all nice for the offensive pieces. With Garchomp being the fastest Mon naturally, and the only Tailwind setters in the match, the Psyducks look set up to dominate offensively here, but you can also kind of look at that and kind of guess that you're going up against a bulkier, maybe more stally setup, and that Toxapex could need to be taken out early before it spreads too much status. The leads are going to be Torkoal and Slitherwing into Garchomp and Whimsicott. This looks good for the Psyduck since they have super effective damage into both slots, but they will need to be careful of something like a Will-O-Wisp or just big damage in return from that Photosynthesis attack boosted Slitherwing and fire moves. Protect on the Whimsicott, protect on the Garchomp as well. However, the Corviknight actually go for Bulk Up and Stealth Rocks, which absolutely punishes that double protect. I don't blame the Psyducks for expecting something like a big first impression or close combat with Will-O-Wisp or Heatwave from the Torkoal, but this was absolutely terrible for them. Rocks are really bad with 3 weaknesses and no heavy-duty boots, and while Moonblast can do about half to Slitherwing, still, a Fire Move and boosted close combat look absolutely devastating the next turn. Torkoal is actually going to switch into Brute Bonnet, probably expecting a ground move. Tailwind will go up, and then Rock Slide is barely going to do more damage than the Life Orb recoil, as Leech Life absolutely chunks that Whimsicott. Interesting going for the Tailwind there with the Whimsicott. It's kind of hard to choose what to go for there. I mean, you want Tailwind to outspeed something like a speed-boosted Sandy Shocks, but getting off about half on Slither with a Moonblast would really go a long way and have been able to punish a potential second Bulk Up. Protect from the Garchomp as Sucker Punch will go into Whimsicott, who lives and gets off a meaty crit on that Slitherwing Leech Life into the Protect. Sucker Punch will take down Whimsicott on the next turn, though, and Dragon Claw is going to miss out on the roughly 1 in 3 chance to KO Slitherwing, who's going to shoot back up to 37% with a big Leech Life. However, Entei and the Sun will threaten both slots. Chomp is going to protect, maybe expecting Sucker Punch, but Rage Powder is going to draw the Sacred Fire KO, revealing the Choice Band, and Leech Life is going to bring Slitherwing back above half. Shocks comes out, but it shows the Photosynthesis special attack boost, so you probably have to be bluffing something here. If you look at the Psyducks, I mean, Garchomp is already really low. Probably it's going to take damage from rocks going out and coming back in. You're probably just happy to just get whatever you can left out of it. So that Sandy Shocks, you know, maybe it has something like a Choice Scarf or a Focus Sash or something, but you outspeed it and just going to OHKO it with a Stomping Tantrum if it doesn't Terra. No Terra or Scarf is going to mean Shocks is easily OHKO'd, and while Chomp dies to Life Orb, Entei is going to take out that Slitherwing, and, well, Blastoise, Toxapex, and Duraludon come out. I don't know. The Corviknight were likely targeting the Entei with Sandy Shocks, but I don't know, just letting it go down there is rough. I mean, could be that they just saw that the Garchomp was going to die to Life Orb recoil, and they're banking on the stall strategy, which Sandy Shocks doesn't necessarily help with, so could have just been the Mon they were most comfortable letting go down. But I think you could have Terra'd there to live the Dragon Claw and then, or the Stomping Tantrum, and then hit back probably into the Entei with a big move. I don't really see what you're saving your Terra for either. I mean, I guess Duraludon could Terra Fairy to resist potential Sacred Swords from Qianpao that would ignore defense boosts. But I think Terraing on Shocks, being able to take out that Entei, live, Garchomp dies to Life Orb recoil, you get a potential second Bulk Up off on Slitherwing. I think that'd be really big. However, if you don't do that like they did, I think you gotta at least switch out Slitherwing for a Fire Resist, something like that Torkoal, probably, because the Pex will be, not the Pex, the Zapdos will be able to come out after the Garchomp goes down. But with that double KO, Psyducks definitely pulling back the momentum here, but they do need to be careful about that Toxapex who's in now and can pretty easily stall everything left but Zapdos. Fake Out is going to stop what is probably a Psychic. Sacred Fire is a Toxic. Sacred Fire is going to get huge damage and a burn onto Duraludon, who will set up an Iron Defense. Protect from Blastoise, trying to dodge another Toxic, and then even after previous max roll, Duraludon is just out of range of a second Sacred Fire and gets off a massive rest as Toxic goes into the Entei, not the Blastoise. The Psyducks were probably counting on that burn to take out Duraludon after the follow-up Sacred Fire, but that rest is really troublesome for them. With Entei on a timer and Rocks really pressuring it so it can't switch out and switch back in to get locked into Stomping Tantrum, if Duraludon can get a second Iron Defense up, there really isn't much that the Psyducks can do to KO it. In hindsight, you can say Blastoise should have gone for Muddy Water there, trying to nab the KO on Dura, but in all cases except Rest, if you avoid Toxic and trade Entei for Duraludon after the passive damage, you look really good with Zapdos to take down Toxapex and then Blastoise and Qianpao to take down the Torkoal. No crit on the Sacred Fire means that Muddy Water is going to bring Duraludon down to still 75%. Muddy Water is then going to come from Toxapex and knock out the Entei after the Toxic damage. Zapdos is going to come out, but it's in a really awkward position. Do you Terra Steel and then you're immune to Psychic, or sorry, not Psychic, Toxic. Why do I keep saying Psychic? You're immune to Toxic and that Toxic stall strategy, but you're then weak to Duraludon's Body Press, which, I mean, you gotta expect it to have if it's got Iron Defense. I think the play here is still to Terra, though. You're immune to the Toxic, and you're probably going to have to go for Muddy Water accuracy drops on that Duraludon. Everything is doing at most 15 to 20% to Dura right now, so you just can't afford to let things get toxic here, and you're gonna need to hope for some luck on dealing with that Duraludon. I think you just go for what you can, and making sure you keep that Zapdos from getting poisoned and worn down that way is probably your best bet. You're just going to have to hope that you find some lucky way to deal with that Duraludon. Big damage from Thunderbolt, and then we're going to see Muddy Water from Blastoise getting the double accuracy drop on the Corviknight. However, poison types do always hit Psychic. Again, why do I keep saying Psychic? Toxic. Toxapex hits Toxic. Poison types hit Toxic. Alright. Zapdos gets Toxicked, and that's going to put it on a timer as Duraludon is going to burn its last sleep turn. Baneful Bunker is going to dodge a Thunderbolt as Duraludon wakes up, but the accuracy drop means it's going to miss the Body Press, and Rain Dance is going to get set up. We're going to see a little bit of healing from that Rain Dish on that Blastoise. I think the Psyducks made a really risky read, expecting Torkoal to switch in for Toxapex, get a little bit of Regenerator recovery. Maybe it doesn't have Baneful Bunker. However, if Toxapex has a Protect move like it does, Zapdos should probably Roost, and then Blastoise should Muddy Water, since Zapdos isn't going to be making use of those that Hurricane accuracy, since Torkoal can switch the weather at any point. And then, you could be fishing for even more accuracy drops on the Duraludon. I also think that Duraludon could have safely set up another Iron Defense here, so that could more easily take out Zapdos and Blastoise. But like I said, you're taking like 15 to 20% from everything, and you've got Rest, so you're feeling pretty good here. It's just a question of, can the Corviknight properly play out this Toxapex endgame? Torkoal is going to switch in, change the weather, and it's going to take half from a Thunderbolt, but Duraludon is going to hit and do a little under half to Blastoise, who will heal with its berry before bringing Torkoal under a quarter and dropping its accuracy as well. Turn 13, Zapdos is going to KO Torkoal, covering the Toxapex switch in. Blastoise is going to get chunked by Body Press again. Another Muddy Water, no further accuracy drops though, and now it is the last two Pokemon for the Corviknight, trying to stall out the Psyducks team here at the end. I do think the Corviknight are actually maybe make a misplay here. They risk going down to a Thunderbolt from an offensive Zapdos set by not protecting, but turns out everyone just going to take this turn off. Everyone's going to do some healing with that Recover, Roost, Rest. Blastoise just going to be sitting there behind its nice little Protect. Now, turn 15, Zapdos is going to Roost again, still expecting a Protect and hoping to get one more chance for a Thunderbolt crit, but the Corviknight are absolutely fearless and throw out a Muddy Water, getting an accuracy drop of their own, while Blastoise is going to set Rain Dance instead of going for more accuracy drops. I think you really have to be just praying for those accuracy drops at this point. And now the Protect finally comes out, dodging a Thunderbolt, which means that the Toxapex has successfully avoided the threat that is Zapdos, as Duraludon will burn its last sleep turn and only has one accuracy drop to its name right now. Two Terras, double Terra here from both sides. Chien-Pao obviously trying to avoid a Body Press from the Duraludon, and Duraludon is worried about potential Sacred Swords, ignoring its defense boosts. Crunch, Toxapex is a wall to end all walls and takes it just fine. Trade Muddy Water there, doing some decent damage to the Chien-Pao now that the rain is up. Turn 18, Protect is going to save Chien-Pao for a turn, while Blastoise is going to fish for any last accuracy drops it can get, but unfortunately, no luck. And Pex is going to shrug off another Crunch as Duraludon finally takes out the Blastoise, afraid of more Muddy Water hacks, and Chien-Pao now officially on a timer. Ice Spinner not going to do much of anything, and finally the 67% accurate Draco Meteor will take down Chien-Pao and secure the victory for the Corviknight in the end. That was a really cool battle to see. The Psyducks played well enough, but ultimately they just weren't prepared for what the Corviknight brought. Once Garchomp went down, just one Iron Defense meant Duraludon was practically untouchable, and Toxic Stall won in the end. The Psyducks really needed some RNG to have a chance at breaking through, and while they got some, it just wasn't enough in the end. Excellent prep and play from the Corviknight, and congrats on the win. It really just goes to show that, you know, if you bring the right stuff and your opponent doesn't, there's not a whole lot they can do, but the Psyducks definitely played really well for not expecting that stall team. And thanks to all of you for watching another feature match here, and well, next week is going to be do or die for some teams as the regular season really starts to enter the final stretch and we start looking towards playoffs. And I'll see you next week in one of the last feature matches of the regular season.